ready!
Hello everybody, I'm Derby and welcome to the final part 17 of my Final Fantasy XIII Randomizer. Let's get to it. Alright, so this fight is going to be a lot like the Proclad fight that we did earlier. Except with the last one I'm using Sentinel, Commando, and Medic. And the reason being is because this guy has like almost like a death move per se. When he charges up his sword and goes after a certain character, it can pretty much kill him instantly. But a lot of times it just does a lot of damage. So I put Hope as a medic because he's going to need to be doing a lot of healing through this. As you see, it takes a lot of damage. So at least having one medic, and then I got Lightning, of course, as a Sentinel, and then Saz as a Commando to at least try to do some damage. Now Saz does have a pretty good amount of strength, so he is able to do a lot of damage while Lightning's blocking and Hope is healing. But pretty much when their health is pretty stable, you can switch to offensive screen and have Hope and Saz do some damage to him while Lightning's still blocking. But yeah, I'm trying to lure him over to Lightning because even if he does do that like one hit death move thing, Lightning can still survive that. While the others are pretty much doing damage and healing. Now eventually I do switch to like rapid growth so I can try to get as much buffs as possible. But he does have the ability to debuff too. But really, this is the best method to stick with this fight because he will pretty much take out your characters very quickly. I mean, yeah, we got Salvation in there too, but I was having a problem. I did die to this fight earlier, and then I was having a problem because I was switching to Salvation, trying to heal everybody, and he was more focused on Lightning at that point and kept taking Lightning out. So instead, I just decided to make Hope a healer. That way, Lightning can still be in a Sentinel mode, and we won't have to worry about it. Now, I could have probably did like Sentinel, Medic, but I'm also trying to do as much damage as possible. I don't think I was really worried about putting him into a stagger because it seems like he doesn't really have a lot of health. As you see, he's about maybe almost halfway before dying.
When you're ready.
Before we get him. Now, a couple, I think it was Saz and Hope that did fall. So, Hope's got raised, so I was able to use raise when Saz fell. And then when Hope fell, that's when I had to switch to Salvation. To at least try to see if Saz would focus on raising Hope. And see, Hope fell there. So I had to switch to Salvation. It was a bit risky too because if he would have focused on Lightning and tried to kill Lightning, then it would have been the end of the fight right there. But I kept waiting for Saz to try to heal Hope. It's much easier when Saz falls because I can still be in the Sentinel mode until Hope raises Saz.
When you're ready.
Yeah, see, Saz fell, and then luckily I was still pretty much in Sentinel mode, so all I had to do was wait for Hope to raise Saz. But if Hope has to focus on healing himself, then he's not going to raise Saz.
When you're ready. Let's wrap this up.
And this will not be the last time we have to fight this guy. As a matter of fact, it gets a little bit worse in the next fight. And it's not really necessarily a boss fight, but it is a random fight that you can't really get around. I don't think there is a way that you get around it. I'm not sure how. But even then, you can use invincibility shroud and just take them out.
Anytime. Go when you're ready.
So yeah, that's the goal really. Whoever your sentinel is, you kind of want to make sure that he's focused on them. So if you got provoke, use that first, and then Mega Guard, or any of the. I just let it pick automatically for me instead of searching for which one would be best. I honestly think Mega Guard is the best though, because as you see, Lightning's health is going up when she's in guard mode.
When you're ready.
And wind up getting hope again, so I had to go back into salvation. Another easier way to make this a lot easier is to have at least a couple of Phoenix Downs in case somebody does fall. I really didn't bother at this point because we had Rays. But Phoenix Downs will make it a lot easier. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it, but he does have the ability to debuff the characters and also put some buffs on them, or debuffs on them as well. I think once I got his health down just a little bit more, I didn't want to risk him killing Lightning, so I had to go into Odin to try to finish him off. Plus, I think Saz and Hope's health was getting pretty low.
Thank you.
Yeah, Saz fell, so luckily I got Hope to raise there.
When you're ready. Now. Anytime.
That's the problem, is that he's gonna, if he's not focused on Lightning, he's focused on the other characters, and they do fall a lot faster.
Gotta stay in control. When you're ready. Now. Got your back. Game on.
And he was taking way too much health from Lightning, so I had to hurry up and use Salvation. Yeah, I got very, very lucky there, because I thought he had Lightning killed right there. She survived by an inch.
Gotta stay in control.
Yep, so I used Odin, because I didn't want to risk dying or anything, so that was the best thing I could have done right there. He pretty much had Lightning down to like her last HP. But really, using a Sentinel in that fight is the best way to go. So like I said before, that wasn't the last time we've seen him. There's actually another one right up here with one of those powerful soldiers. So I would just use like one of the invincibility shrouds and then just going to try disaster, take out the soldier first, or actually no, take out that last guy first, and then take out the soldier, because the soldier's much easier to deal with. But yeah, just use like a preemptive strike, try disaster, and then aggression. And if you were, I wouldn't really worry too much about the buffs. But if you are to buff, I would wait until the one guy that we just fought earlier is out. And again, that's not the last time we see him, because when I do the Seafstone missions, we gotta fight him again. And it was these two guys from the wetlands, same strategy as before. And we got 3 of these tough soldiers up here. And then now we got this guy again. So pretty much the Proud Clyde that we fought earlier. It's kind of like this again. Yeah, it's pretty much just the same fight. Once he transforms into his other form, and you got this stagger gauge going up like this. When he transforms, the stagger gauge disappears. And then when he's in his other form, and you get him into a stagger, you'll be able to get him airborne with launch, or probably use an August spell to at least get him somewhat up in the air and to keep doing damage to him.
Thank you.
So that's why I just stuck with the Sentinel here, because we definitely need it.
Win this.
Game on.
So you guys just keep your party members healed.
When you're ready.
Of course, as you see, he does a lot of debuffing to you.
Thanks.
So yeah, like I said before, I guess debuffs on him do kind of work. Yeah, he switched forms, so I lost the stagger there. But debuffs on him do kind of work. But I really don't focus on that too much, because I have to keep the Sentinel out as long as I can, and at least try to do or get him into a stagger position, so we don't have to really worry too much. I think he winds up debuffing himself. I'm not sure. I know the last the Proud Clyde did.
Thanks. Turn the tide.
And then you can just use rapid growth to get some buffs on yourself. But oh yeah, there's a move that he does, that laser ring right there. Every time he does the laser ring, it will actually debuff your characters.
Let's wrap this up.
So really, it's not. I would more focus on just doing damage to him and stuff like that. I mean, you could try to put haste on, but chances are it's gonna probably debuff. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think he keeps doing that every time you use a buff on your character. It seemed like it, because it seemed like once you got through like the middle part of the fight here, I started to realize that when my characters were buffed, he kept using that rain,
Moving.
and they kept getting debuffed. And every time I tried to buff him back up, he kept using rain. So I think at some point I was like, okay, this ain't working out. That's when I more decided that maybe I should just start using debuffs on him.
Try this on for size.
Yeah, debuffs do work, I mean, for a fight like this. But you're more wanting to, just like I said, just get him to a stagger position. And then, maybe then you can worry about debuffing. Or even then, once he's airborne like that, you could probably do like a quick buff, like put haste on somebody. But one of the reasons why I was using a haste here is because instead of using like Esuna to get rid of that debuff there, that little clock, you can actually use haste to get rid of it as well.
Turn the tide. Thanks. Try this on for size.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing. I was using haste to get rid of the that thing there.
Thanks. Let's wrap this up. Now.
And he switched forms on me. Yeah, so when he's in that form, that's when he's going to use the laser ring the most. So that's when I wouldn't really worry about doing any buffs on the characters. I think at this point I realized that it wasn't working out like that. And that's the only time I'd actually switch back to there was
We can win this.
if he used that like daze move on any of the characters. And that way I could use haste to get rid of it.
Let's wrap this up. You're going down. Target acquired.
I mean, if you don't want to use infection, what you could probably do too is use something called Smart Bomb, which is 2 Ravagers and a Saboteur, and that actually works out too. By using infection, you try to get as much buffs on him, debuffs on him as possible. I wasn't worried about putting anything on anybody really, because I was trying to get him airborne and get him finished before the stagger ran out, and I think I did. Yeah. So yeah, I probably would use a lot of debuffing on him. But like I said, more wait until he's in the stagger mode before you decide to use any debuffing. Alright, so we got the final boss right up here. We got Orphan. We got Blitz there. We got Renewal. We got Blizzard. Thunderga. Pink Ward. we got all this for Saz. He finally got impaled. Death blows, Belga. And some of this is kind of pointless right now, but like the Spellga, I don't think Orphan does. I think Orphan does do some stuff on him. I'm not sure. But yeah, I got the power gloves. Those power gloves I went back and grabbed. But that's my equipment set up for there. And we got a weapon for Saz. So yeah, I changed my setup to that because it's definitely going to make things a lot easier. And we can start off by buffing all of our characters here.
Game on.
I don't think he debuffs anybody, but I can't. I might be wrong. I'm not sure. But it's basically the same way as any Bartanieless fight, really. Just, you can do a lot of debuffing on him. I kept Infection. You can use Smart Bomb or Try Disaster. I kept Infection and Try Disaster to try to put him into a stagger quick. And then of course Salvation for healing.
You're going down.
I was trying to do as much debuffing on him as possible. That's what I would do, is try to put as much debuffing as possible. Because you're not going to beat him on stagger anyway. Not unless if all you've done is grind. And even then, I'm not sure. So if you know you're not going to beat an enemy in one stagger, you might as well just try to put some debuffs on him and stuff like that. It's kind of like in Bartanieless 2, where he was using that move on the characters. That shreds through your health. Yeah, just make sure you stay healed from that. But yeah, I kept Infection and then I put in Try Disaster at least to help get him pushed into stagger a little bit faster. I mean, you can use Shroud for this fight. Now, this is going to be a 3-part fight. This is probably the only fight in the game where you can use the Shroud in the beginning, because it can be a little bit overwhelming. But depending on where my characters are at, I normally don't. Yeah, even so, I mean, even if all 3 of your characters, or 2 of your characters doesn't have a good synergist abilities or whatever, I probably would still use them anyways, because every little bit does help. As you see, Protect there, which gives it to everybody, and then I think it helps to protect a little bit more. The only problem is that Protect God doesn't last very long. It doesn't last as long as Protect does.
Take down the enemy.
Now, I believe it's the same with Shelga.
Follow my lead.
So I should be able to finish him off here, and then we're in the second part of the fight. Now, make sure you do got a pretty good amount of health before even trying to attempt these 3 bosses, because in this fight here, which at this point you should have pretty good health, he's pretty much a sword at this point. And what he's gonna do is just raise himself up from the ground,
So you're behind
and he's
all
gonna
this.
do like an attack to where it attacks everybody else. So I would start off with doing buffs as fast as you can. And this move right here does do a lot of damage. Pretty much gonna put everybody in red, or if not dead. So immediately switch to salvation and heal everybody.
Got your back.
Thank you. Move on instinct.
So as you see, I was able to get at least a good amount of buffs before he did that move.
Careful now.
And he will do that move several amount of times. So this is one of those fights when your characters are in yellow, you want to make sure you keep him as healed as much as possible, because he will do that move again.
Follow my lead.
So as much as you can, make sure that your
Move on
characters are in
instinct.
green. And that's why I got diversity out too, just in case.
Take down the enemy.
Try this on for size.
Not entirely sure if debuffs work with him too much. That's why I didn't immediately try to go and do it. But I was more waiting until he was in stagger, and I don't know if I even still used it then. Yeah, I did, okay. Yeah, so I was waiting until I got him into stagger before I tried to do anything like that. But if it doesn't go after like maybe the first time or second time, then don't worry about it, because it's not worth it. And you can just keep attacking him. But I wasn't 100% sure if debuffs work or not. If they don't work on this fight, then the next fight after that they definitely do work on. So that's why I did keep infecting him. So it's between the first fight and the last fight that you're going to get the most debuffs out of the fight. But yeah, the goal is here just to make sure that everybody's pretty much in the green. Use aggression at first to help get the stagger up a little bit, and try disaster to get the stagger up all the way. Yeah, so once you see everything disappear like that, that's when he's going to go into a judgment mode there and do that damage. To make sure you're in salvation immediately afterwards.
Let's go.
And Phoenix Downs. I mean, in case anybody does fall, you know, you got Phoenix Downs too.
Got your back.
But yeah, it's more just keeping yourself healed, buff,
Here.
using aggression to get the stagger up a little bit, try disaster
Take down the enemy.
to help get the stagger gauge up all the way, and then back to aggression. Try to do as much damage to them as possible.
You're going down. Thanks.
Yeah, he does a few debuffs too, so Esuna. Yeah, you can use Esuna to try to get rid of him. Yeah, I was still trying to see if I can at least get any debuffs on him whatsoever. And, oh, poison did work, okay. So yeah, if you can get at least something to work on him, that's fine. Poison is definitely going to try to eat up his health.
I appreciate it.
So that would work too.
Follow my lead.
And then I just switch back to rapid
Thank
growth.
you.
try to get my characters a little bit more buff. And then he went into his judgment again. I mean, if you really wanted to, like I said before, you can do 2 medics in Commando, or 2 medics in the Ravager. I really don't mention Ravager with Commandos because, or with medics, because it does not really help the stagger gauge at all, whereas Commando, it's not going to push up the stagger gauge, but it's going to make sure it's not going to fall either. That's why I mention more Commando than I do Ravager, and 2 medics. Or Saboteur. I mean, Saboteur, I mean, unless if all debuffs are on that enemy, then say like Vanille, it's not going to be doing anything at all. It's just be standing there until one of the debuffs disappears. That's why I say more Commando is better for that than anything else. And then he went into his judgment again. Believe it or not, the last fight is a lot more easier than this fight. This fight, yeah, okay, so I was able to get a lot of debuffs on him.
Thanks.
Yeah, see, I kind of forgot if it was working or not. At first, it wasn't working. But like I said before, definitely, I would wait until he's in the stagger before even trying to attempt it. That's where it's going to work the most.
This battle is ours. Let's go! The madness ends here! Follow my lead! Let's go!
Not sure if he does that move again or not, because he is almost dead.
Follow my lead! Thank you. Let's go!
But I got him close to stagger. Yeah, Lightning lost her haste, so I wasn't even worried at that point about it, because of how close he was. So I decided to push forward on it. No matter what, you're not going to get any drops from these fights whatsoever. That's how it was in the original version.
Find your own road to hell.
Alright, so this fight, kind of like with an Igolan, they're going to throw a Doom on you, and you got a certain amount of time to defeat this fight, but really it's not that hard of a fight.
Got your back.
Thanks.
But at the beginning, when they're not in a stagger position, when Orphan's not in a stagger position, it's not going to do any damage whatsoever. You have to wait until you get Orphan into a stagger before you can start doing any damage. So, just start off with Try Disaster, Aggression, then Try Disaster. And then once Orphan's in the stagger, then I would use Infection, like keep that close. So as soon as the stagger gauge is close enough to where it's gonna hit, then I would go into like try to do some kind of debuffing or smart bomb. But once Orphan is airborne like this, they're pretty much useless. And then you keep just going for a good while. I try to at least see if I can get another debuff or 2 on her. And I managed to get at least 1. But this Orphan doesn't really have too much HP. So you're more focused on going into aggression, Try Disaster and all that. And it really shouldn't be that long of a fight. Minute 29. Yeah, this Orphan doesn't have a lot of HP. Now, even though this is the end of the game. There was one more thing that I want to do before ending this. Anyways, as I was saying with Orphan, he doesn't have a lot of HP, so once you get them into a stagger, then you'll be able to do a lot of damage. Alright, so here, there was one last thing I want to do. So, like I said, even though that was the end of the game, I wanted to go fight, Adamantois, I believe it's called. And see if I could beat that fight. Now, for some reason or another, I've done like a couple of these randomizers. There's there's a couple of abilities within the game, like Lightning's Army of One or Vanille's Death. For some reason, they don't show up, so I couldn't use Death in this fight. But I thought it was him that I fought, and it's not. But at the beginning of the fight, now normally you always want to save your Eidolon for an emergency or whatever. But in this fight here, you always want to summon the Eidolon first. I didn't fight him because he's surrounded by a bunch of wolves or dogs or whatever, and that makes the fight a lot harder. But this guy over here I did fight. But you always want to summon an Eidolon, and the reason being is every time you summon an Eidolon with this guy, and this is my setup here, he gets knocked to the ground. And then by that time, you can do as much debuffing. You have to try to do as much debuffing as possible. And then push him into a stagger, and then use aggression to try to finish him off. Now you want to make sure you have as much, you basically want to set everybody up with a lot of strength as possible. So the reason why I did do a little bit buffing here in the beginning is because I knew that once he did his stomp, that we were going to be alright. So I was trying to get in a few buffs. That's why I didn't immediately go into the Eidolon.
How about some of this?
I was trying to get some debuffs on him, but it didn't quite work out.
The storm is here.
But yeah, that's the reason why I would not do what I did there unless you know you got a lot of health. That's why I say summon first and then worry about all that.
Until
But
next time.
once he's knocked on the ground, you only got a certain amount of time before he stands back up. I think it was like 35 seconds or so. So that's why I didn't do the Eidolon first and then do the buff. So yeah, only make sure you got enough health to survive this
Keep a
fight.
cool head.
See, now that you got like at least 3 debuffs should be just enough for this. So Impel, Keep Protector, and then the other one. And you should be alright. And then you just put them into a stagger, go into an aggression, and just keep welling on him. He should be dead by the end of the stagger. Now if he stands back up, you're gonna have to retry the fight. And then yeah, Shrouds. If you get any Shrouds in the beginning, that's why I didn't use it because I didn't have any. But if you got Shrouds, I would use Shrouds in the beginning of the fight as well.
Easy.
But I managed to get him before the stagger ended. And I don't think he dropped anything. Oh, okay, no. He dropped a bangle, which raises health. But that's how you pretty much defeat that fight. So that was the final part for Final Fantasy XIII Randomizer. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.